mind. I've forgotten how much I hate space travel.
It's time for Cinema Savants.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Your weekly source for movie news.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich. Movie reviews.
You gave me the only parachute without hesitation.
I thought there was another one.
And the occasional Hollywood rumor.
Dad! Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet.
Hosted by Todd Vandenberg.
He stuck his finger in the end of your what?
And Rob Steele.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Don't do anything stupid, all right?
Oh, doing things stupid is what we do best in this show. Welcome to another episode of Cinema Savants. He's Todd Vandenberg, and I'm Dolph Lundgren. Because...
oh, that hurt. And I know why you said that.
No, he'll show up a couple times during the show. We've got all the things you need to know about, all the movie news that's come out this... Well, not all the movie news that you're going to care about. Is there stuff that came out this week? The big thing, big news this week, and I'm sure you already know it because it's hard not to have noticed that the new Star Wars trailer came out.
Did it? Really?
Made the internet explode, bigger than the mother of all bombs that was dropped last week. Yeah, big news, big Star Wars trailer, and you know what? I'm going to start with Todd's opinion of this because mine is probably a bit abnormal. What did you think of the trailer?
I kind of have a feeling I know what your abnormal opinion will be. My initial reaction was I didn't really care for it. I didn't think they said much about what happens in the film other than stuff gets blown up. But then the more I thought about it, because it seems very dark, which... Yeah. Compared, okay, with the DC Universe films, okay, we've had way too much of that. But that's not a bad thing for the Star Wars universe. And since The Force Awakens was so much of to me, too much of a rehash of A New Hope, it makes complete sense that this would follow that path, and this would be the dark film, like The Empire Strikes Back. So I like that the more I thought about it. Yeah. And I really do like the big punch in the gut at the end when Luke says what he says, because it really gets you thinking, okay, what's going on in this film? And isn't that the point of a trailer? It's to get you excited and interested in the film, and I think it did a great job of that. I've seen more interesting trailers, more fun trailers. We'll talk about one of those later that I liked much more than this. But if a trailer's job is to get you thinking of the movie and wanting to see it, I thought it was a great trailer. It wasn't particularly entertaining, but just that last punch in the gut with a lightsaber, not really, but close enough, by Luke, it really gets you wondering what's going on. Your opinion is?
My opinion is, oh, look, Poe Dameron is going to lose another X-Wing. I saw that and went, again? Really? He's been in 2 movies and lost more X-Wings than Luke lost in the entire series to this point. Honestly, there was nothing in it, apart from that last line, that made me go, ooh, I want to see this. Yeah. That last line, though, to me, might be hearkening back to one of the novels that has been retconned, where there was a group of people who said, look, there's no light side of the Force, there's no dark side of the Force, there's just the Force, and this is what we do with it. Which was a good storyline, and I enjoyed it. If that's the way they want to go with it, then good. But there was really nothing in this that made me say, I want to go see this movie, other than the 2 words, Star and Wars. It was just kind of, it was good to see. It was nice to know that they did the Dragon Ball Z power-up maneuver with Rey, where all the rocks start floating. And I said, that bodes well for a future Dragon Ball movie. Of course, then again, I thought the fight scene in the last Matrix movie would have made for a good Dragon Ball movie, and they did not do it. But I'm completely off subject now. The Star Wars trailer...
Why never have good things?
I don't know. They don't know how to turn anime into good movies. See Ghost in the Shell. No, I retract that. Don't go see Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, the Star Wars trailer, near as I can tell, it's gotten 16.5 million views in the first 24 hours, which is a lot, but I can't find a scale to put it against. There's another trailer coming up soon that has more, and we've got more trailer news coming up there because there were a couple of trailers that came out this week that were really, really cool. But before we get to that, let's get to some of the movie news bits of the week. In the good, the bad, and the whatever. Yes, it's another death knell this week. In the good section, Wonder Woman's directors. I think this is a good thing, but it's something that died, and that's the theme song to Wonder Woman that people already know. The kind of hard rock, heavy metal thing. They have said that theme will not appear in the Wonder Woman movie until the closing credits.
Good.
And I think that is a spectacular thing because rock music didn't exist during World War I or World War II, whichever movie this is in, so it wouldn't make sense to play it then. And that was the one thing that really worried me because I saw the trailer news.
Right.
Saw the trailer for Wonder Woman, and they played that during it, and I went, you know what? That just took me out of it entirely. But they're not doing it in the movie. Yay. I think that's a good thing.
That's a very good thing because it kills that trailer. Exactly like you said. It's a cool trailer, and then they bring up the theme, and it's like, okay, I like the theme, but what?
They don't go together.
Yeah, it's not exactly 1918 music. It doesn't work.
No. Actually, I just realized all the good news this week seems to be coming from DC Comics.
That's a plus.
This is good news. Good news for the TV series is recurring villain in Arrow again is going to be Deathstroke, who, if you watch Arrow, I think just about everybody agrees that the second season of Arrow has been the best so far, and that was the one where Deathstroke was the bad guy for the whole season, and he's coming back, played by Manu Bennett again, which I think is a wonderful thing. So good news for Arrow.
A very cool character.
And the other good news this week is we finally have a plot for the Aquaman movie. Let's see. King Nerus of the aquatic kingdom Zebul is going to be trying to claim Aquaman's wife, Mera, and trying to kill Aquaman. That is the plot of the movie. That actually goes back to early days of the comic book. And King Nerus is going to be played by Dolph Lundgren, which, if you go back to the ye olde comics, actually works. But I'm wondering if they can put it in the credits, just to see if anyone notices, have it say, King Nerus is played by Dolphin Lundgren. Because I think that would work.
That would work. What do you think of the casting of Dolph Lundgren in this movie?
I think it's going to work because any of the fight scenes are going to end up having to be, if not completely CG, at least computer enhanced. Yeah, because it's all underwater. So it's going to be an interesting movie to see. Just for the underwater effects of it. It's not going to be like what was another underwater movie? Abyss, where everyone's in big suits and everything. It can't be like that. And it's not going to exactly have the same physics as people who fly around, like I mentioned a little while ago in the third and quite hideous Matrix movie.
Quite hideous indeed.
Where Neo and Agent Smith are flying around and beating the crap out of each other. It can't be like that either because the physics are different because it's underwater. But Rob, it was raining in that third Matrix. Shut up. I think this is going to be a completely different thing, and it ought to be interesting. And
it ought to be.
Dolph Lundgren, sure, why not?
See, that the Dolph Lundgren thing really bothers me. I mean, he's a very cool guy. He's extremely bright. It just never comes across in film to me. And I just thought, so often they get really interesting actors. And DC has done it too. It's not like only Marvel gets the cool actors. DC has had some really interesting actors in their films as well. And to get Dolph Lundgren, it's just like, oh, you mean the guy from the really old bad Punisher movie, as opposed to the mediocre Punisher movie, as opposed to the really good Punisher movie that nobody saw, unfortunately, Warzone. It's like, geez, Dolph Lundgren, how does he fit into, the new? I just don't get it. I get it. It's a genre throwback and it's a callback, and I hope he's really good. But to me, it's almost like the rock guitar in World War I for Wonder Woman just doesn't fit. But we'll see.
I think they just went on appearance for him, because in everything else they can CG over or enhance his voice or do whatever they need to do for it.
Yeah, I mean, his age doesn't bother me for fight scenes, because, like you said, it's going to be CGI enhanced, whatever. Actually, has to fight Mr. Momo. That would be unpleasant for anybody, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Moving on to the bad news, and this bad news does have a bit of good and a bit of potential spoiler to it. And I am not knocking the Defenders TV series yet, because they're not done. It hasn't come out yet. I can't knock it yet. And the two trailers we've got are kind of crap, really. More trailer news still. Anyway, I was curious this week because someone asked me which character Sigourney Weaver was playing in the Defenders. And all we know right now is her character's name is Alexandra. But here's my problem with it, is I looked up Alexandra, the character from the Defenders, on IMDb. And this is the bad news. IMDb has apparently been taking counting lessons from George Lucas. Because it said, Sigourney Weaver plays the character of Alexandra in the Defenders in episodes 4, 2, 6, 7, and 3.
Interesting.
Who taught these people to count? It starts with 1, goes up from there. That's me being petty, I suppose. I could have been Tom Petty this episode, and I missed it. Damn. Anyway, one other note I found with this is that there are, in the history of Marvel Comics, there are no characters named Alexandra. But, and I found this wonderful article on it and backed it up with other research. There is a character named Alexander Baunt, who was the first kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. Uh-oh, sounds like we're getting into familiar territory. So what they might have done is take the character of Alexander Baunt, a gender switch that no one's going to care about because no one remembers Alexander Baunt anyway.
Right.
And turn her into the kingpin, kind of. Only a different character. And this could just be, I loved how this was phrased. It was a red herring, because do you know what Sigourney Weaver's middle name is? Take a guess.
Kingpin. It's Kingpin.
Close. It's Alexandra.
So she reacts naturally when they call her.
It fits. My other piece of It does. My other piece of bad news does come from another Marvel movie, and I'm not knocking Marvel this week. We're going to be very nice to Marvel in a few minutes.
Yes, we will.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 does star Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone, which made a lot of people think, could we get just a very brief reunion of Tango and Cash? Wouldn't that be cool? I thought Tango and Cash was the funnest. And it turns out, no, they weren't even on the set at the same time.
That's sad.
They said hi to each other in the trailers, but there will not be an on-screen Tango and Cash reunion.
That's very sad, because if any film could pull it off, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, because, I can't believe they didn't do that. I almost think that that's probably a lie. That's disinformation that's been put out, and there's probably a Tango and Cash. There's a Tango and Cash mini movie, like mid credits. That would be a beautiful thing.
Oh, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? People would go see it just for that. Well, I would go see it just for that.
That would be too funny. I almost started to just laugh out loud as soon as I thought about it. That would be so cool. I want to have a complaint. Therefore, I shall. IMDb. Why do you list the star of The Defenders? The first person listed is Finn Jones. What? Are you kidding me?
He's the first person.
In the first place, it should be Kristen Ritter, and then it should be Mike Coulter, and then it should be Charlie Cox. And if you have room, put Finn Jones on. Like, Kristen Ritter's not even listed. They list 3 people, and she's not even on there. It's like, you guys have problems. Anyway, it's IMDb. It's not that big a deal. So, but if they list it that way in the Defenders in the actual credits, there's going to be issues. There is going to be issues. That is perfect English.
Wanted to ask you about a movie, and we're now into the whatever section, because I got a few things in whatever that I can't figure out whether I care or not. There's a movie called Armed Response that's coming out soon. Story follows a team of highly trained operatives who find themselves trapped in an isolated military compound after its AI is shut down, and they try to figure out what happened to everyone who was in the base before. Could it be the AI killed them? Who knows? I'm guessing yes. The thing that made me interested in this was that it's led by Wesley Snipes, so nice to see him back. The rest of the cast kind of threw me off a bit. Gene Simmons is in this. And he's the white with a big tongue and large face.
I kind of think he'll be the villain because I've never seen him play anything other than a villain.
And a guy named Colby Daniel Lopez, who a lot of people know as WWE superstar Seth Rollins.
How
that's
strange.
Just a weird cast, isn't it? Wesley Snipes, Seth Rollins, and Gene Simmons? Or is that just me?
That's kind of an odd cast, yes.
Okay. Just checking.
So I wonder if is it actually a WWE film, perhaps?
It does not say. It says Saban Films is
company.
the North American distribution rights.
WWE Studios. They are involved. It might not be the only there, but they're in it.
Well, they kind of have to be, I would think.
Yeah. For Seth Rollins to get a job, yeah.
One of the and this was actually part of a Newsbits article where it started off talking about triplets, which is a horrible concept of Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito making a twin sequel of triplets where the third one is Eddie Murphy. Huh? No. Yeah. I'm not buying it at all whatsoever. But in another article I found about The Rock, ooh, look, another wrestler, talking about his Black Adam movie, there is a quote from Jeff Johns, who is the be-all, end-all guy at DC right now, talking about how there's, in 2019, because it's a Batman's 80th anniversary, there's going to be 4 Batman movies in 2019. Now, I suspect the Batfleck movie is only going to be one of them. 3 animated movies, or are we going to get a Gotham movie? Or
maybe they'll release it 4 times. Well, Batfleck. Hopefully, they'll actually make that. The Batgirl film, certainly.
That's true.
They could bring that out, and I hope they would. Do you think they could push Nightwing up? Oh, at least one animated one, if not 2. But maybe they can get a Nightwing in there. I mean, it's 2019. It's far enough out where they could get it done. If they start now, that would be pretty sweet.
Maybe they are starting.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But that would be a pretty nice year to have a Batman movie, Batgirl, a Nightwing flick, and then another animated one. Or it's a lot more likely it's going to be 3 animated flicks and Batman. And as it stands now, maybe it would be 4 animated flicks because they're not having much luck in getting the Bat flick going. But
they're having trouble getting Batman off the ground. But then again, the character can't fly anyway.
That's right. That could be a tremendous year, though, couldn't it? Wow.
I would think so.
Unless they
wouldn't that be another
up.
Star Wars movie that year? And what Marvel movies are coming up? That could be a big year.
Every year is a Star Wars year at this point. So, my gosh.
Well, that's true. Let's see, other whatever news. I'm not sure what to make of this. Jude Law has been cast as Dumbledore in future Amazing Breasts and Where to Find the Beasts, Amazing Beasts and Where to Find the movies.
I really like Jude Law, but I really did not care about that movie. Not that it was a bad movie at all. It was just there. I mean,
I think we're out of the demographic for that.
Yeah, truly. But Eddie Redmayne, he had two expressions in that film. He was frightened or bewildered, and it's just wow.
He reminded me a lot of Matt Smith, who played the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Matt Smith's Doctor in that. So I'm wondering if they wanted Matt Smith but couldn't get him, so they went with Eddie Redmayne instead. I thought.
That film was just not in the demographic, but there are plenty of films that I love that I'm not in the demographic for either. So,
that's true.
Just wasn't there for me. Like I said, not bad, but it was a competent bit of work, and you need something more for that kind of a movie to be.
Other casting news that came out this week, they announced that Josh Brolin is not only going to be Thanos in the forthcoming Avengers movie, he's going to be Cable in the upcoming Deadpool 2. And I can't bring myself to care one way or the other about it.
Oh, I can, because I think it's great. I don't care that he's Thanos, and who cares that he's two different characters? Like you can recognize him as Thanos, that whatever. But I think that's great casting, because to play off Deadpool, and especially the way Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool, which is perfect because that's the character, but I'm hard-pressed to think of an actor who can play off the silliness better than Josh Brolin. And who knows how he'll play Cable. I mean, it might be... What I'm envisioning is from Men in Black 3, when Josh Brolin did his dead-on Tommy Lee Jones impersonation for the whole film. And it was amazing. It's a fun movie, but he is incredible. To me, that's the best work he's ever done. It's hilarious how he just does this Tommy Lee Jones bit. And if he plays Cable somewhat along that path, and just to have all the reaction shots between the crap that Deadpool is going to have, that'll be great. So I was really happy to see that. Hadn't thought of it for a moment until they announced it. It's like, he can totally pull off Cable. That'll be great.
He was not my first. Actually, I had three choices above him.
Which were?
One of them was Dolph Lundgren.
And another was Jude Law. And Dolph Lundgren would work.
Chris Hardwick. No, I'm kidding. Do you remember a show called Space Above and Beyond?
Vaguely.
Didn't last long, but it was really good. And that's where I know this guy from, an actor named James Morrison. Let me see if I can remember where other places where he was from. And by remember, I mean look up on IMDb in a place that maybe they'll be able to count in a better manner. Other things, he was in 24. He was in Catch Me If You Can. He was in Castle at some point. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's one of those people you look at him and you kind of go, hey, wait a minute, he looks like Cable. And so does the internet's top choice, which was Stephen Lang. A lot of people really wanted to see as Cable because he looks it already.
Right.
But
and he would
Brolin,
definitely.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, he would definitely work, but I'm happy with the casting. It's one of these things where, oh my God, they didn't screw it up. Because they certainly could have screwed it up.
Oh, yeah. Chris Pine. Chris Pine as Cable. And we're going to recast Deadpool as Chris Hardwick.
Chris Hardwick, yeah.
Because we haven't mentioned on this show yet. But that's all I've got for good, bad, and whatever. Back to more trailer news, because this was just a big week for trailers.
It was.
And one of the big ones that we haven't talked about yet, is The Man with the Iron Heart, which is in America going to be called Quadruple H, or two big H's, a little H, and a big H, just to screw up the acronym. No, that's not the big one, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, that is a trailer, and it actually looks like it could be an interesting World War II movie if you're interested, but I don't know why they made it's 4 H's, and the third one's the lowercase. I don't know why. But
that's
okay,
a little bitty hard.
Big trailer of the week that is not Star Wars. Thor, Ragnarok, coming out this November and became Disney's most watched trailer in the first 24 hours of its existence, at least until the Star Wars trailer came out that we don't have the scale for, but it's still well behind the all-time leader of most watched in the first 24 hours, which is Stephen King's It, which just came out. I enjoyed the hell out of Thor. The trailer, I think, looks spectacular. It actually made me want to see the movie because I was kind of leaning against, you know what, I'll wait till it comes out on DVD or streaming or whatever. But I saw the trailer, and you know what? I want to go see this.
You were considering waiting?
I was, because I didn't know how it was going to turn out.
I'm glad you have been disabused of that opinion, sir. The trailer did its job, verily. The trailer is awesome. It has some.
Yes, I did throw a clip from it in the opening credits of the show.
Yes, there's a big reveal in the trailer, and normally I don't like big reveals in trailers, but word certainly would have been out anyway, so it doesn't matter. And if you haven't seen the trailer...
Which reveal were you talking about?
Well, there is an iconic item in the Marvel Universe. Something happens to an iconic item as opposed to a person. And I'll just say that if you haven't seen the trailer. That's kind of shocking. And it's not like it hasn't happened in the comics, because it has happened a couple times, I believe. But still, it's like, what? And on the other hand, it kind of makes sense because, well, how does Thor get captured otherwise? So it makes sense. But the trailer is so fun. And my friend from work, I mean, my God. It's just perfect. And that trailer validates the choice of the director. And I just blanked out on his name because why would I not remember his name as I'm about to talk about him? Because, why would I do that? Taika Waititi, who is half of Flight of the Conchords, which is a really strange recommendation. But if the movie is half as good as the trailer, it's going to be awesome. And there's no reason to think it won't be. Really cool. Really cool to see that they went with blending in a bit of the Planet Hulk storyline with it. The character of Hela looks amazing. There's nothing in this trailer that doesn't make you, like Rob said, if you were on the fence about it before, you aren't now. Not after you see that trailer. It's like, wow, just looks so good. Should easily be the best of these standalone Thor films. And I've liked them all. Like there's 50,000, the way I said that, but this looks like it'll be easily the best.
And someone we know is in the movie that we didn't see in the trailer, Doctor Strange.
Quite true.
More stuff to add in. There's stuff we have not seen yet that's going to be in this movie that is, it can't help but be, Karl Urban is in this movie. I missed that somehow.
Right. Yeah, I had not seen that until this week. And he's playing Scourge, and it's like, oh, wow, how cool. Another iconic Thor villain, and it's just, Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. So, yeah, he's terrific, which reminds me, we talk about reboots and remakes, and just a quick mention, because I thought about this, because I was flipping through listings, and Stallone's Judge Dredd was on. It was like, And sadly, probably 10 times as many people saw that as saw Dread, starring Carl Urban, which is a great movie. And such a cool movie, and yeah, Carl Urban. So very, very happy.
Considerably better, but he never takes off the helmet.
Yeah, which is such a cool choice because he's not supposed to. He's Dread. He's not some guy who's Dread. He's Dread. And I thought that was very cool for the actor to be comfortable enough to say, they don't have to see my face. That's not the movie. But besides, if he takes off the helmet, he's Bones McCoy. Nobody wants to see that, even though that happened afterwards. How freaky would that be, though? Bones McCoy chasing you and telling you that justice will be... anyway.
It might have worked. He could be Yomer from the Lord of the Rings movies as well, or Vako from Chronicles of Riddick. Actually, I was going through my movies the other day, and I just thought this was very odd. So I've taken all my DVDs and turned them into digital stuff and put them on a server in my living room. That is just for personal use. I don't broadcast anything.
Sure.
I have everything organized, and it automatically puts movies that are together in groups. So all my Bond movies are in one place and in order. Now, I've got 2 of the 3 Riddick movies. I actually just have Riddick, and I have Pitch Black. I do not have the movie called The Chronicles of Riddick, but when it groups the movies together, it calls them The Chronicles of Riddick. So,
interesting.
Just an oddity. Back to the trailer thing real quick, and not more about Thor, or even Spike TV's version of Stephen King's The Mist, which is completely different than the book. Even I know that, and I haven't read the book or seen the movie. I saw the trailer, and it looks okay. Not the point. I was trying to figure out where the Star Wars movie ranked, Last Jedi ranked in the most watched in the first 24 hours. Can't find that information yet. We will get back to you on that. But I did come across the top 15 most viewed trailers of all time. And a lot of them I understand. I didn't realize Stephen King's It has already had 197 million views and ranks as the all-time viewed trailer, followed by, weirdly, The Fate of the Furious, which we'll get to in a minute. And Thor Ragnarok is already number 3. But other movies on this, I understand. Things like, The Force Awakens, Captain America Civil War, Beauty and the Beast. But I get to number 13. And I'm looking at this going, huh? It's a movie called Bahubali 2, The Conclusion. I've never heard of Bahubali. It might be Bahubali. It depends on where you look on the screen, apparently. I haven't heard of one. Have you heard of this movie at all?
Never heard of it. Apparently, it was quite the big hit in India, which of course has a huge film industry. So
I had kind of suspected that, but at the same time, I'm like, Captain America: Civil War, The Force Awakens, Bahubali, huh? Missed that one entirely. And I'm gonna poke fun at you for a moment.
Please do.
Because I missed Bahubali, but you missed Doctor Who last night.
I did indeed.
Oh, silly man. Because if you, for some reason, did not watch Doctor Who last night, find a way to watch last night's Doctor Who. Because as far as when they restarted the series in 2005, this is easily one of the top 5 episodes they've done since they restarted it.
Oh, wow.
I'm putting it at number 2 behind Blink. This was a really, really good episode.
Really?
No spoilers yet, because I know a lot of people DVR'd it last night and everything. This is a show you need to watch. And if you even don't know Doctor Who, this is actually a good show to start with. Because it kind of explains bits and pieces enough to make you go, oh, that's how it works. Okay. Very good episode. So go watch.
I will do that probably tonight. God has bestowed upon us this miracle called On Demand, so I will do that.
Hey.
Before we're still kind of in trailers.
Yes.
There's
sorry.
One trailer I wanted to mention. No, that's fine. There's one I wanted to mention I thought about last week. Have you seen the trailer for the soonest to be latest Tom Hanks film called The Circle?
No. I missed that. So I'll watch that and you watch Doctor Who.
Well, I'll devote much more time, and I'm sure my time will be better spent than yours.
Oh, dear.
And it might be a really good film, but the trailer, basically, I had read about this movie coming up based on a book, which most films are, surprisingly enough. It's this giant corporation, kind of a blend of Facebook and Google, where the Circle is there for you, whatever, and Tom Hanks is the CEO of the Circle. And then it turns out, perhaps there are somewhat nefarious purposes for the Circle because they have you under observation all the time. And that's a good thing for you because you can recall any part of your life, whatever, but maybe there are some bad aspects to it. And, it sounds like, okay, that concept works. It's a high concept. It fits. No surprise there.
Right.
But the trailer is just so blah and pedestrian. I mean, this movie's coming out at the end of this month. Tom Hanks,
28.
John Boyega, Emma Watson, a few people that people have heard of.
Bill Paxton's in this.
Aw. That makes me actually want to see it then. Dave Eggers, this is the first time I've seen that. Dave Eggers co-wrote the screenplay. Okay, that's really out there. Interesting. Anyway, the trailer is just so boring. I mean, it's just... If you'd never seen a film like this, if no films like this had ever existed, the bad corporation is doing more than we think they are because we think they're benevolent and they're not. But, I mean, these movies have been made since the 70s, and this looks like the trailer for every one of those films. Tom Hanks says, oh, he's such a nice guy because he's Tom Hanks. And then it's like, maybe something else is going on here, and poor Emma Watson has to, with the help of John Boyega, figure out what's going on and possibly save her life. And it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, the fatigue sets in like 10 seconds into it. So I'm hoping the film is a lot better because it's an awful trailer because it does the opposite of the Thor Ragnarok trailer. It pushes me away because I was looking forward to this movie. And after watching the trailer, I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to watch it for free 3 years from now. It's just
dear.
Ugh. And again, not that it's bad, but it's just, I've seen
I'm
this
looking
thing
at the cast list. It's got an incredible cast to it.
It does. And maybe it's an incredible movie, and I really hope it's an incredible movie. But, geez, it just looks like I've seen this thing 53 times already. It's just, ugh. It's in a way, it kind of reminds me, in a weird way, of Sully. Because, of course, that was a real life event, but you knew it so well, there was no point in watching Sully. And Tom Hanks. And yeah, there you go. Although who knew about Rose? She wasn't in the books. And Tom Hanks, in a way, he's great in Sully, but the character doesn't change. Nothing happens for that character, really. He has bad moments where he feels guilt and blah, 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 but he gets over it, which he did, and good for him, but there isn't really much character. There's no arc for the character of Sully, so what is there for him to do? It's just, to me, didn't care for Sully. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Saw the story in real life. Why am I watching this part? So, yeah, The Circle. Watch The Circle, and we'll see. I don't mean the film, but watch the trailer, and we'll see next week if you have a completely different opinion, and hopefully you do, because very odd trailer to me. Anyway, away from that.
Will do. I mean, you mentioned seeing this movie repeatedly.
Yeah.
And it reminded me that a movie came out this week that's making a ton of money. Well, I'm not sure why. It's called The Fate of the Furious. At least in the States, it's called The Fate of the Furious. Everywhere else on the planet, it's called Fast and Furious 8. Hello.
Yep.
Maybe that's a hint. But I have not seen it, but I did read a review of it that I'm going to pass along to you because this, I think, describes the last several of them. The review came from CNET, of all places, but it reads, all the constituent elements are there. Vin Diesel talks about family in his V8 growl. There's a defiance of automotive logic, physics, and common sense. The Rock sweats through his Under Armour tees and flexes his way out of a plaster cast. And Jason Statham is British. And I kind of went, that does sum it up. That's about it. You don't need to see the movie now. It doesn't need anything else. I did see, what was it? Cinema Sins, which, if you've never seen, check out sometime. They did Fast and Furious 7 and just chalked up so many things in the movie where you go, that should not happen. No, that can't happen. There's no physics involved in this scene.
Yeah.
It looks pretty, but that can't possibly happen. And they did the entire movie, and it's not good. And they said Fast and Furious 8 is like 7, only more. Which, no. If you've seen the trailer, because we are talking trailers this show, there's a submarine in a car chase.
Because why not? That
should tell you they're running out of plot points to put in the movies. So...
at some point, they'll be on SpaceX. The Fate of the Furious 9, or the Fast and the Furious 9, which would be the Fate of the Furious 2.
Of the Furious.
Our good show friend, Mr. Ted Hicks, we talked about it briefly yesterday. He saw the film, having made it a very clear point that he had not seen any of the previous 87 Fast and Furious films, but he decided to see this film. And he said it was fun. He really enjoyed it. Which, is it supposed to cure cancer? No, it's supposed to be fun.
No, exactly.
Yeah, not my cup of tea either, because as we had talked in pre-pro, I've seen Tokyo Drift and bits and pieces of other Fast and Furious films when they're on TV, because it's not my particular cup of tea.
No.
So not likely to do that. I'm more likely to watch Bahubali 2, the conclusion, than one of the Fast and Furious films. But, if cars don't obey physics, well, that's okay, because Vin Diesel doesn't have to obey physics either.
I'm floating as we watched it. No. Do you think it is possible that someday we could see any of the Fast and Furious movies, although I think 7 would work if the Cinema Sins thing was any indication? Do you think we could see any of these on Mystery Science Theater 3000 now that that's finally back?
I can't imagine that they wouldn't have except for the rights to it. That's what would hold them back. But that would make perfect sense. Which is why that's how it started out, showing bad films, because those were the only things they could afford to get the rights to, which they probably paid virtually nothing. Which is, but that would be fun if they could do that. Mystery Science Theater 3000, like you said, it's a wonderful thing that it is back. I caught the first of the new episodes. It was fun. I did miss some of the old guys, but that's okay, because it is a new cast. That's the whole point. Crow is there. Yeah. Tom Crow is there. Gypsy is there. They're voiced by different actors, which... that's okay. That's a good thing. Very funny.
I don't remember what they sounded like in the old voices anyway, because it's been so long.
Yeah. Well, not for me, because I actually watched... I can't remember which one they were lampooning, but I watched one a couple of weeks ago. But some of the jokes fell flat, but they always fall flat. There's always some jokes that are going to fall flat. It's not like, oh, this isn't the same thing at all. It's great. Patton Oswalt... Patton Oswalt playing son of TV's. Oh my gosh! Now I blanked out on the character, but but they just call him Max because his boss doesn't want to call him that. Very, very fun. And they did Reptilicus, which is a terrible movie. I actually saw a worse movie this weekend than Reptilicus. And Reptilicus is very obviously a puppet. Very obviously a really, really, really bad kind of sea serpent, kind of dragon marionette. And that's what they used in this movie. And it's terrible. The Mystery Science Theater 3000 is great, so catch it on Netflix. But I actually watched a worse film than that. Turner Classic Movies, which again, another shout out to Turner Classic Movies because they show some amazing, cool things. This is an amazing, cool thing that they showed, the fact that this movie even existed. It's called The Zodiac Killer, and yes, it's based on the Zodiac. The Zodiac serial killer who was in San Francisco, committed his crimes, or possibly hers, because they don't know who it was, in 1969, was writing letters to the San Francisco Chronicle, even a few years afterwards. This film came out in 1971, and wow, so it's hot on the heels of it. Actually had had cooperation from, I'm trying to find his name, there is Paul Avery, the columnist who, the film Zodiac 2000 came out in 2007. Great movie. A little different from this film in quality. He's actually a consultant for this film. And the director, his purpose in making this film was to catch the Zodiac. Seriously. Because they slapped this movie together and they premiered it in some theaters in San Francisco, and based on the theory that they want to return to the scene of their crime, he figured that the killer would be drawn to come see this movie about him. And they would do these odd little questionnaires beforehand of everybody that kind of fit the basic profile. And if they got any hits, then the cops would come in and say, "Oh, we need to speak with you further." Well, of course, it didn't pan out that way. Well, let's just say they didn't catch the Zodiac doing that. The Zodiac may have gone to see all 6 screenings of it. But man, what an awful film. I mean, It's a shame. As far as I know, I don't think it's available in any streaming services. You can buy it if you're insane on Amazon or from Weird Video. But the acting is god awful. A lot of the stuff where they stare into the camera, and it's almost all the actresses. They might as well be Kristen Stewart. We were talking about wooden actresses earlier, where they just very obviously read the lines. The editing is awful. Jump cuts that aren't meant to be jump cuts. They just are because they forgot that, this person was here in this thing. Dialogue is terrible. The worst thing to me is virtually all the men are these horrible misogynist bastards who are constantly talking about how women are bitches, and they're only good for one thing. Or there's maybe a couple cops, and they don't act that way, but they're stupid because they didn't catch the Zodiac. And it's just, it's like the worst. You a question. It's the worst of every 70s movie ever. Yes, ask me a question.
Because I looked up the Zodiac Killer, 1971. Yep. And the first thing that came up was a YouTube. It's a Turner Classic Movies clip. It's not YouTube. It's a clip called "Don't Touch the Hair." Yes. I'm going to ask you.
For some reason, there's a very extended subplot here of and he's like the worst human ever, practically, except that he's not a killer. There's a guy that initially they think maybe he is the Zodiac, and he's a truck driver. And he's divorced, and he hates his ex because she's actually, he, of course, is this awful person. And there's a scene where he cleverly disguises himself as a businessman, which is literally what they say, a businessman, because chicks dig that. And to disguise himself as a businessman, he puts on a cheap 1970s era suit, and he's bald, and he puts on this horrible like worse than Donald Trump looking blonde wig that sits on top of his head, kind of like a big hairy tarantula. And he's sitting with these four women who are all over him because, of course, why wouldn't four attractive women be all over this relatively ugly, stupid, extremely jerky bastard? Because, that's, of course, what women would do. And he calls his buddy over, who actually is the Zodiac killer, unknown to him, to come over and sit with him because he's got these hot chicks. And the guy looks over there and goes, oh, man, with those pigs, I don't want to be with them. And they're all attractive women, but, because this is how guys talk. They're pigs. Why would I sit there? Oh, come over. So he sits there, and two women immediately start caressing the killer. They're all over him because, oh, he's so handsome, because that's all women want, according to this film. Unless they're nice girls, in which case they get killed. And that's how this movie works. And Grover, who is the character, don't touch the hair, of course, his two girls, they're all over him because he's such a sexual dynamo. Yeah. Wow. He looks. He doesn't quite look like Steve Bannon, but he's close enough. So there you go. And the one woman almost touches his hair. Don't touch the hair, because of course his wig will come off. And at one point the wig does come off, and everybody laughs at him. And it's not a spoiler alert because no one is ever going to watch this movie. But he gets in an argument with his ex, and then decides for no reason to scream that he's the Zodiac, so the cops kill him.
Of course.
And then his subplot is over. And I mean, seriously.
There's another clip, a couple down. That's another clip from the Zodiac Killer called "Hey, You Ignorant Mailman." This movie needs to be put on MST3K immediately, and I only know two lines from it.
Oh yeah, it does. This would be easily the best MST3K ever, because it is so awful and so easy to make fun of. And yeah, he's a mailman and he doesn't like his job because he'd much rather be killing people. And for some reason he has 8 rabbits in hutches that he keeps, and he loves his rabbits. No idea why, but that's part of his character. And he has the argument with a lady because she doesn't like him leaving the mail down there, and she screams at him, "Hey, you ignorant mailman!" Because again, the director of this film, Tom Hansen.
There was a director?
There was a director. And he has a couple buddies, I assume, because I can't imagine they were paid for this, Ray Cantrell and Manny Cardoza. The only thing I can think of is they must have really, really hated women, because why would they write all the women as such awful... Like I said, the women are all either terrible, or they're sluts, or they are nice and get murdered. And it's just... The movie is so awful in so many ways. I walked out of pure luck from the movie theater. Only movie I've ever walked out on, which was, gosh, when was that? Like in the 90s with Martin Short, and it was just, oh, what a terrible film. This movie blows that out of the water. I would have Martin Short come to my house and act out pure luck for me, then watch Zodiac Killer again. That's how bad this film is.
I am looking at the IMDb listing for this movie, and it has a list of all the cast members. And you know how if you look it up on IMDb, there are pictures of all the actors in it. Only one of these actors in the list of 20 or so, only one of them has a picture. And that actor's name is, and I'm not making this up, Doodles Weaver.
Doodles Weaver. And I have seen him in a couple other old movies. And his character is a terrible, terrible person. He's an awful person because he's talking to the killer. Of course, he doesn't know he's the killer. And he's talking to, hey, you getting any action? He's like, oh, well, get me the leftovers. I like them plump and juicy. Literally, that's what this guy says. And he's like 60. Or maybe in his 70s. He's really creepy. But apparently that's supposed to be normal behavior.
He would have been 58 when this movie was made. He died at age 70 in 1983.
Yeah, it's... Oh, man. I mean, this...
I recognize
every 30 seconds.
I'm trying to figure out what.
You cringe every 30 seconds during this film. What's really odd to me about looking at the IMDb, it has a 4.4 out of 10 on the rating. So, and I'm sure it's because people... I don't know why. I'm assuming because people laugh at it. But here's one review. I'm not going to read the review, but this person, the raw, gritty approach is a plus. It may not be trashy or exploitative enough for some viewer tastes. It's like, what?
And Jason Statham is British.
Yeah. I was like, God. I mean, it's worth seeing if it pops up for free somewhere, just so you can appreciate, wow, that might not have been name any movie you've ever seen that you didn't like, and you can always think, well, at least it wasn't the Zodiac Killer. That is why this film exists, I think.
And that's our thing for this week. Something to avoid. The Zodiac Killer from 1971.
Yeah, the Zodiac Killer, not only the film, but the actual Zodiac Killer would be good for you to avoid.
Well, yeah, avoid that too. Ooh, hang on a minute. No, that's not it. It says the full movie is available on YouTube. No, it's not.
Oh, that's sad. I can't imagine why. It's not because...
It's 30 seconds long. No, that's not it.
Yeah, it's kind of hideous. Before we wrap, something I wanted to mention last week, and I really don't want to end a show talking about that movie. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if you have not been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., start binge watching. Plow through the first season, because the first season is kind of iffy. I almost stopped watching it because it's kind of like, good start, and it got bogged down, and then towards the end of the first season, they finally realized, oh, this is a Marvel property. We need to do interesting, exciting, fun things. And they did. And ever since then, it gets better and better and better. And now, in this half season, because that's how they're doing it, they're doing kind of half seasons, which so many shows are doing these days. Basically, they did their LMD half season previous, Life Model Decoys. This so far has been the most fun. I don't know if it's been the best, but it's been the most fun aspect because agents have been taken into what is called the framework, an alternate reality, not actually an alternate reality. It's just that they are tricked into thinking they are alive in this world, which really is just a computer simulation. Their bodies are really still someplace else trapped, but they think they're in this new world. And it's quite an alternate world because Hydra won. So all the good guys, with the exception of Sky/Daisy, who was one of the agents, /Quake, and Simmons, they're the only two who know what's going on. And they're trying to rescue their buddies. Phil Coulson, who is the leader, and at times had been the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this show, he's a high school teacher. Everything has gone wrong. One of the best things, though, Agent Ward, who was kind of a stiff blah in the first season, and then they had the brilliant ideas like, let's bring out the jerkiness aspect to him and make him a double agent for Hydra. Spoiler alert. Not that it is, because if you don't know that, you wouldn't be interested in watching this anyway. And he was great as a villain. Well, Ward is back now. And this is so fun to see people who've been portrayed as these wonderful heroes, and some of them are really, really not nice people in this reality, and it's so cool and so strange and weird. About the only person who more or less stayed the same is Coulson, because he's Coulson, and because Tahiti is a magical place. But it's so fun, and you do need to watch. It helps if you've seen the entire thing. So if you haven't started watching S.H.I.E.L.D., start binging and get caught up. But this alternate reality of Hydra having won is so cool. It's definitely worth it. And And occasionally there's little tidbits thrown in about, remember that incident? Or what happened in New York and blah, blah, blah. They'll throw in little things here or there. So it does tie in a very tangential way, but it does tie into the movies as well. So, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has definitely been fun for a few years now. So binge watch, get through those first episodes, and you will be extremely happy.
I was happy with the first few episodes because they had Deathlock, which was a character I never thought would get any screen time. And he was one of my favorites, so good for him.
That'd be fun. That would be fun if he, who knows, he may come back. Because anybody can come back in this one. Yeah, that would be cool. I would really like to see him because they did a really good job with him, too. I thought they did a really good job. Anyway, anything else, sir?
That sounds like a good place to end this week. So, what kind of shows do you have coming up this week?
Who knows? To the best of my knowledge, Lee will still have the Seahawks show. I believe it is now the 12th Man Rising Seahawks show, but Lee will still have that on Tuesday. Ted, of course, does have Late Night Parents on Wednesday. Saturday, we will probably have another baseball beer barbecue, although Lee has to work this coming Saturday, for which he is unrepentant and will not apologize for the fact that real life is intruding. Other than that, I know you have shows coming. Are you going to have another double week of SWAT?
No, not another double week. I just moved the SWAT show back to Friday because I remembered one of the things that I started it with was I wanted to have it on Fridays because it's kind of like The Daily Show, but The Daily Show is for some reason not on Fridays. And if someone needs to take its place, it may as well be me.
How true.
So the SWAT show is now on Fridays, and 2 pages of mystery is this week, but not next week, and I'll get to that soon. This week, there's no Lieutenant Cooper Wright, but we're in the same department. This time we get to the night shift and Detective Calvin Glenn, who pulls a strange case involving tattoos, vampires, and a big hairy guy named Samson. And just for fun, the part of Calvin Glenn will be played by a new addition to the 2 Pages family, my good friend John Sitzman, who does a spectacular job of this. Tune in and listen to it. 2pagesofmystery.com, and both 2 Pages and the SWAT show can be heard on the Coil Entertainment Network, which is coil.us or coil.us, depends on your point of view. But stay tuned to the end of the 2 Pages of Mystery show because there is a major announcement after the show. Teaser, trailer, take it as you wish.
And we want to remind our listeners that in observance to the holiday, Support will be closed on April 14th and will open back up on April 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Thank you, Blog Talk Radio.
Ariel! Upa! Ride!
Do you think they will let me live in Montana?
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, I drank what?
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but it's a living.
Darn, that's the end.